What's up, everybody? You are very welcome along to Wednesday night's late night agenda. And you're not just getting one of us, you're getting the handsome one, and you're getting Jack Gill. See, I turned it on you there, Gill.
Yes, mate. I'm so happy to not just be doing this on my own today. It's good to have you back, mate. And I cannot wait for this show. I really can't.
You did an incredible job. As you know, I do stalk in the background when you're doing these things because I am a control freak. But yeah, you went down really well with the audience. You did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for covering for me, mate, while I was... I could tell you I was off doing Pilates or something like that, but nobody believed me. But yeah, I really appreciate it, Jack. So thank you for that. And I know the audience loved it as well.
Yeah, it was good, you know. Like, it was nice to have some positive feedback from everyone, but you know, it wasn't the same as when you're doing it, Craig. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this one today with both of us. They get two for the price of one today. It's like a B&M sort of deal.
Do you know what else they get, Jack? They get 4 balls for the price of 2. And speaking of balls, this show is being presented to you in association with Manscaped. Get yourself over and have a look at the all-new Performance Package 4.0. It has arrived in Europe. The USA had it first, but, you know, they needed to re-engineer it for these big Irish nuts and probably for the UK nuts as well. Get yourselves over there, folks. They're all new. Performance Package 4.0 features the Lawnmower 4.0, the ear and nose hair trimmer, which they call the Weed Whacker. You also get yourself a pair of boxer briefs. It comes in a lovely little travel bag they call the Shed. And your balls will most definitely thank you later. And particularly for the 7,000 RPM. Jack, 7,000 RPM, mate. I bet you your nuts have never had 7,000 RPM before.
Well, mate, all I can tell you is since the clubs have been back open, I've been pulling out the lawnmower dance. And since I've heard about this lawnmower 4.0, I've had to order the Manscaped selection. I've had to, mate. It sounds absolutely incredible. And as you say, as the slogan says, mate, our balls will thank you later. So there you go. I think.
Do you know how you could save money on ordering the Manscaped?
I don't, mate. Can you tell me?
Simply by going to manscaped.com, Jack, going to the checkout and using the code WFM20, you can get 20% off anything. And it doesn't even matter if it's already on sale. That's the level of clout we have with Manscaped, mate.
Wow. Well, if I was people watching, I'd be clicking that link right now and I'd be making sure that your balls are protected for the rest of the year.
Imagine having hairy balls. Scarlet for you. Yeah. Right, let's get to some football talk, Jack. I want to open up with a little bit of good news around El Capitan Jordan Henderson. So, look, we were worried. There was some stuff came out, and Hendo doesn't usually air his dirty laundry in public. But I want to read you something that I'm fairly sure I nicked from The Athletic. But let's just give them credit for the time being anyway. Liverpool proposed an improved deal spanning 3 years with the option of a fourth contingent on how many appearances he makes. Klopp has made it clear he's keen for Henderson to sign a new deal. It's important. It'll happen. The German explained the process, the news conference on Friday. We will sort it. However, we will sort it. No doubt that it'll get sorted. So, look, I kind of intimated to people a while ago, you may have been on one of the streams, so I had a feeling that the happy middle ground here would be to maybe a little bump in wages and offer Hendo that extra year. The club seem to potentially looking to 1 year as an additional on top of that. So 3 years with an option of a fourth. We just want it sorted, Jack, don't we? To be honest, just want the captain to be happy.
Yeah, losing Henderson this window would have been absolutely dreadful. And it's fantastic news that what we've heard over the last few days. I feel like I may have misguided people the other day. I thought it'd be announced a lot sooner than it has been. But as far as I'm concerned, and as much as I've heard, the deal is done. So I don't think it'll be long before it's announced. And yeah, I think it's fantastic news, Craig. I really, really do. Really, really happy that we've got Hendo signed onto this long-term deal because it's not just what he does on the pitch; it's what he does off the pitch as well.
Shall we tickle people shaving balls a little bit more? Because I'll go as far as to say that from what I've been told and from what I'm reading, but mainly what I've been told, I don't think it's going to be too long, although there is no rush because the club are very happy with the professionalism of it. I don't think it's going to be too long until a certain Egyptian winger is also going to be signing a new deal, Jack. I'm getting very positive vibes at my end.
Yeah, I've heard it, mate, and I believe the word isn't just vibes these days. We call it vibes. It's called winning vibes, and if you get Salah down on a long-term contract, that is absolutely vibes, mate. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Mohamed Salah will be signing a new deal at Liverpool Football Club, and why wouldn't he? I think it's so important for us to tie him down. there's constant pressure from opposition fans on Mohamed Salah saying that this will be the season that he won't succeed, but he proves them wrong time and time again. And this is yet another season that he's got started with a bang. He's broken another record. First player to score in 5 consecutive first games of the season. What a player, mate. And we are so lucky to have him. And, I'm sick of the whole comments of, he's a system player under Jurgen Klopp. Yes, he's a player that suits our system. Yes, he suits Jurgen Klopp, but he is world class and he gets better and better and better. And tying him down would be perfect for this football club. It really would.
Yeah, it's great that the club are getting this done. We'll get on to transfers, folks. Of course we will. Just bear with us. I'm easing my way back in here because I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous today. So I'm easing my way back in with some happy talk first before we get to the possible frustration. But look, we started out this window and we heard Alisson, Fabinho, we heard that Van Dijk were the priorities, and we heard Salah was the priority. But it was a nice little surprise hearing Trent getting a new deal, Queven Kelleher getting a new deal, Harvey Elliott getting a new deal as well. So the club have done what they've said they were going to do, which was make sure that these players are staying at Liverpool for the prime years of their career, which in one sense is a good thing. But what it does do, and it's getting a bit technical here, is the wage bill certainly increases to a point where we're right at that threshold, where they call it safe of 70% of income versus expenditure on wages. So we do have to balance the books a little bit, as much as people don't want to hear that.
Yeah, and I think that's potentially why we've not seen much business this summer, because I think Liverpool and FSG are trying to sort out, our long-term contracts with players that we currently have, and that's fair enough as long as we sort out our future. We've both spoken about the danger of us falling behind with what Chelsea, Man City, Manchester United are doing, but all that Liverpool can do for now is ensure that the world-class players we currently have we keep, and over the years, I talk about my childhood, being a Liverpool fan during my childhood. We were a selling club. It was as simple as that. And the stature of Liverpool Football Club, we should never have been a selling club. And, under Jurgen Klopp, that's something that he's made sure we're not anymore. We're not a selling club. We keep our world-class assets. And that's what we've done this summer. We're making sure that those players will stay with us. They'll sign long-term contracts. And I'm absolutely delighted, Craig. Yes, I'd like to see more players coming in, but ensuring that we still keep the players that have made sure that we've had so much success over the last couple of years is what is important to me as well. And making sure that we've kept Alisson, Van Dijk, Fabinho, Trent, players who are the best in their position in world football right now is fantastic news. And I'm delighted with that. And yes, we'd all want more incomings coming in, but I think this is a good start for Liverpool, and it's good to have them, signed on long-term deals.
It absolutely is. And what really shocked me was Alisson's 6-year one, because we know goalkeepers go on longer, but for him to show that commitment as well, I thought was magnificent, because I love Alisson. I love him to bits. Question from 1975 Jamrock, who was a quality contributor, by the way, to the chat. He either calls me out on stuff because he has more knowledge of me on it, or he just puts in some good input. Love the lad. He's really quality. He said, why would we have lost Henderson with 2 years left? I think it only came about, Jack, because it seemed that Hendo felt undervalued for whatever reason. I think he just wanted some guarantees from the club. I don't know if it was necessarily around money, playing time, or importance to the club, but when he's seen everybody else in similar position coming into the last 2 years, getting renewed deals, maybe he started worrying about what he's seen with Gini Wijnaldum, and he just wanted the club to show him some love. That's all I can really guess.
I think it was a matter from both sides. I think, Liverpool were desperate to avoid another Gini situation. I think Henderson was desperate to show, how much he means to us as a fan base and as a football club. And, the minute that news was leaked, Liverpool fans obviously weren't going to be happy. And, we don't know where it came from, which side it came from. But I think both sides were keen to avoid him leaving. And as far as I'm concerned,
that was me trying to make a love heart, by the way, which I absolutely butchered. But sorry, Liz.
But yeah, I'm absolutely certain that it never would have got to that point, because Henderson is desperate to stay at Liverpool, and Liverpool just don't want to lose a key asset for free again, like we did with Gini. So yeah, I'm delighted this has been the case. As I say, Henderson is so important for this football club on and off the pitch, and I believe that once his career is over as a player, he could become a coach at Liverpool Football Club. I really could, because, this man is so important for us on and off the pitch. So, yeah, I'm delighted his future seems to be sorted now.
Hi to Darragh Azizi in the chat as well. Nice to see you back in, mate. Darragh is our chief moderator and is backed up by Kate as well. So you know what got me thinking, Jack, about Hendo? I thought about it from the point of view of when he hangs up his boots, and I thought about where we will view him in the pantheon of Liverpool great captains, and you've got to say he will be right up there at the very top. I mean, yes, there are ones who've lifted 3 European Cups or more, whatever, but he has delivered everything. A league title after 30 years, the World Club Cup, the Super Cup, the Champions League. He's won a League Cup with Liverpool as well. Get the FA Cup and he's got the full collection. And that's where, to me, I wanted it to be resolved, because we will look back at Jordan Henderson. My kids, your kids, they'll look back at Henderson in years' time and go, wow, he was a proper Liverpool captain.
You have to feel for him, because, you know, he followed Steven Gerrard, who is probably one of the best midfielders of the Premier League era. You know, and he followed him as Liverpool captain. He's the hero of many, Steven Gerrard. You know, there's a lot of people that aren't Liverpool fans who would say that Steven Gerrard is one of their favourite players of all time. It's as simple as that. And you only have to look at, you know, Henderson's early days at Liverpool, when he was put under a lot of pressure by Liverpool fans and opposition fans, to know where Henderson's had to come from. And, you know, his rise has been tremendous. His success under Jurgen Klopp has been outstanding. He's become a true leader. He's become a very, very good footballer. And, you know, he will definitely be up there. Absolutely. As you say, Craig, he's won everything that there is worth winning in club football. He's only an FA Cup away from winning everything in club football. And, you know, for me, he will 100% be up there, and that is why we couldn't afford to lose him, because losing your skipper and losing Jordan Henderson during this transfer window would have been absolutely awful for us, and it would have had such a huge effect on this football club. Like, nobody can put into words how much it would have you know, affected us. So yeah, it's really good getting him tied down to a long-term contract. And as I say, it's not just what he can do on the pitch, it's the fact that we can get him in a coaching role as well. And I honestly feel like he could have an impact on this football club for many, many, many years to come.
Yeah, it would have been massive lives if he went out during this transfer window. See what I done there? I'm down with the kids, Jack. I know the lingo.
Yeah, love that, love that.
Great question here from Gucci Mo. I don't know if it's a question, an insult, a comment, whatever it might be, but it's very true. How do you do these every night, Craig? There's fuck all to report about us. You're right, mate. And people often say to us in the comments, you know, stop saying this or stop saying that. But no matter what I do or Jack does, everybody wants to talk about transfers during this time of the year, whether there's nothing to talk about or not, whether we're reading through articles, doing some guesswork, you know, a bit of research. It's a topic that people want to talk about, and I'm actually looking forward to the window closing, where we can get into more, you know, analytical stuff, look at the opponents we have coming up. So it's a fair comment. But let me just talk to you guys about something that I read last night, and I'm not sure how far along Jack is on this, because it only started coming out over the last few days. Actually, you are up on this, Jack, because you mentioned it to me on the stream. It's how PSG have gone about funding Messi, and how they've gone about releasing equity in the club, shall we say, by selling NFTs and coins. Now, I don't know if our viewers are aware of this, but NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They're basically, they can range from anything from digital cards to digital artwork that you buy the copyright to, basically. So you don't physically own anything, and it's a very divisive thing in the art world. Some sold for, I think, 16 million quid a while ago as well. But basically, they've raised 25 to 30 million euro, Jack, by, I believe, selling coins. And what you get for these coins are, you get such royalties as to be able to vote on club polls on their website and things like that. I'm going to call it what it is, Jack. It is shithousery of the highest order. And if this shit starts coming into football, where players will take some of the value of their own coins, think of it as image rights. If Messi coin value increases, what Messi can earn or will make from that initial signing on fee will increase. And this could be the start of a very, very shaky trend in world football, Jack.
It angers me, Craig. It really, really angers me, because PSG have gone full Elon Musk. You know, they've created their own economy, and that is how they're funding the game. And, you know, it's dangerous for football going forwards. And, you know, we talk about the European Super League. We've said everything we need to say on that. We've slated it. and we've given it exactly the abuse that it deserves. But PSG, one of the clubs that didn't support the European Super League and got praise for it, have gone a separate way, and they've decided to bend their way around the rules of the game in a different kind of manner. And it's pathetic. It's a disgrace, and there is no way that this should be allowed in the modern game. And there'll be clubs like Manchester City that I'm sure are watching PSG and working out themselves a way of doing it themselves. And
there are other clubs that have done it. PSG aren't. There are, I think, 4 or 5 to my knowledge that have done this around Europe already. And again, it's very shaky ground, and I think it's far too early for us to say whether this is something that has legs to it or not, because I'm still on the fence over Bitcoin and that and digital currency, if I'm being honest with you. So, call me a boomer or whatever, but I'm also somebody old-fashioned who likes to be able to touch and feel something that I've paid money for. So this basically seems to me a hyper version of transfer, what was it called? Transfer index or football index, which eventually we all know what happened with that, with what happened with that company. And it just feels dodgy to me, and it feels like another way of football clubs getting fans to pay for shit. It feels like a stealth tax on football clubs if you want to have the best of the best. If you want to have Messi at your club, it's going to cost money, folks, and there's only so much we got. That's what I see coming.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It really frustrates me. I've said everything I need to on PSG, and I'm genuinely, Craig, I'm sick of giving them the time of day, because they always keep getting away with it. And, we saw Neymar and Mbappe in the same window. We're seeing this window, and they'll get away with it time and time again. And for me, that's why I've just put this comment on the screen, because that's the important thing we need to talk about today. It's away from football, but Sean Lock, what an absolute legend. And I was so sad to see his passing today. I'm a huge fan of 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. It's one of my favourite TV programmes. Sean Lock, obviously a legend from that. I was gutted to see him pass today at such a young age, mate. I really was.
Yeah, 58. It's so very young, and people who don't watch the chat know I'm a stand-up comedy geek, and Sean Lock is as good as there is. I remember seeing Dara O'Brien talking about him, saying that Dara O'Brien emceed for one of his gigs before, and right at the end of his gig, one of the closing pieces was where Sean Lock talked about, fighting with his wife and arguing, as everybody does in relationships, and then proceeded to rip off his suit to have a Riddler costume on underneath, like as if to go, "You don't even know me." It's a tremendous loss. It's a sad loss, and somebody who was extremely quick-witted and extremely clever, and on stuff, whether it be stuff that he did with John Richardson on 8 out of 10 Cats, or whether it be with Stephen Fry. It's so sad, mate. You're right. It's just so sad. The world's lost another comedy great.
And one of his best moments has to be Carrot in a Box. Carrot in a Box. Wow. How he managed to, make people seem like he didn't have that carrot in the box, and it's kind of like what PSG are doing. Let's be honest, it's a good job I brought it up, because but absolutely, rest in peace, Sean Lock. What a legend he is, and 8 out of 10 Cats will never be the same. It really won't.
I don't think comedy will ever be the same, to be fair. He's tremendous, and may he rest in peace. Jens said, are you guys confident in finishing top 4? Mate, honestly, if I put a percentage on it, I'm talking 90% confident that we're going to finish top 4.
99. We'll finish top 4. Absolutely. We may not have had many incomings, but, we've bought Konate and we've still strengthened the squad. You look at last season, we finished 3rd. And we had half the squad out injured for half.
That's still mad, isn't it, by the way? We finished 3rd from a position of probably 3 weeks out, not a hope in hell, to finishing 3rd. Not 4th, 3rd. Above the team that went on to win the Champions League. 3rd.
People wrote us off. People were like, now there's no chance they'll get Champions League. We finished 3rd. And, we had Van Dijk injured. Henderson was out injured. We had 15 different centre-back pairings throughout the season.
Imagine Alisson's agent when he went in for this contract renewal. Look, motherfuckers, I've got one thing to show you, a video play 6 years now. Like, I'd say it was an easy talk.
Have a lifetime contract, Alisson. Have a lifetime at Liverpool Football Club.
I'm going to slide across a paper and you're going to write a number on it and we're just going to nod.
I don't understand people that say, oh, we've hardly signed anyone, we're going to miss out on top 4. Okay, fair enough. So United have strengthened, Chelsea have strengthened, City have strengthened, fair enough. But other than that, who's going to come close to us? We'll get top 4, absolutely. We've got Van Dijk back. We'll challenge for the title. We'll still be up there. Yes, we've not signed players. Yes, I do think we're going to really struggle to win the title this year. However, we'll be up there. Of course we will, because we have a magnificent squad. We have the best manager in world football. And, at the end of the day, we'll be up there at 100%. So, yeah, we'll get top 4, definitely.
I love this as well from Yordi T said, opinion, Henderson is the pillar to our transition to the next era, i.e. Choo Bellingham, and the most important player in our team. Now, you didn't write Choo Bellingham, but I'm going to try and make that a thing. So he will be known as Choo, or maybe just Choo Bellingham. We can work it down to 1. But yeah, I think it's a good shout. I think it's a very good shout because, I think the way I try and compare this is, am I confident we'll get you Bellingham? I actually am confident we'll get you Bellingham. But I'll never forget Steven Gerrard talking about the impact that Gary McAllister had on his career. And that 2001 season in particular, where he played with GMAC, and he learned so much from him. He said he learned from one season alongside Gary McAllister, he learned more than he did from anybody else playing football. And you can't understate having a Jordan Henderson, having a Thiago Alcantara, having a James Milner in and around the likes of a Curtis Jones or a Choo Bellingham or whoever it might be, or a Harvey Elliott. So I think it's a belter of a comment, and I think it could be spot on.
Hey Jude. There you go. I can't play much more than that because obviously copyright issues on YouTube. But there you go. I am confident of Jude Bellingham coming in. I cannot wait for Hey Jude on the Cop. I think that would be the best thing about bringing Bellingham in, as well as the fact he's a fantastic player.
Obviously, I won't be sitting on the Cop because that's for the great unwashed. I'll be sitting somewhere along the halfway line. I won't even eat my prawn sandwich because I don't like prawns. But I will be there hoity-toity. Maybe giving an L wink and a nod to Linda. I don't know, Jack. But what I'm saying is, I won't be with the great unwashed, with you regular folk on the Cop.
Yeah, but nonetheless, we're all supporters of this wonderful football club that Jude Bellingham will be at one point. And yeah,
who's this fella you're talking about? What's his name again?
Jude Bellingham, mate.
Oh yes, it'll be more of a la 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 choo choo for me, and with the posh seats.
But yeah, he's I cannot wait, and I am quietly confident that we will one day have Jude Bellingham. I think he's world class. I think he would be a perfect long-term replacement for Henderson. We know that we were interested prior to him going to Borussia Dortmund. And yeah, for me, mate, I would be absolutely buzzing for when he joins us. I really will. And yeah, there's a lot of people that will jump on that and say, oh yeah, Jack and Craig confirmed that Jude will join. No, we don't know that he will definitely join, but I just have this feeling, this gut feeling says that this big transfer that we're looking for will be Jude. Yeah, he reeks of a Liverpool player, Craig, doesn't he? He absolutely stinks.
I was watching him last night in the Super Cup, the German Super Cup, and he didn't have his best game, but you still seen in those flashes, those moments, how amazing he has the potential to be. I want to bring up one thing because I've seen something today from the ever-reliable Fabrizio Romano that said, Arnaut Danjuma to Villareal, done deal, and here we go. So he's gone for 20 million from Bournemouth to Villareal, and I have to say, Jack, I never wanted him at Liverpool, but there were some people that said to me they watched him at Bournemouth and that he is class and that he will tear it up when he goes to Spain. But whatever I think, it doesn't matter. He is off to Villareal. They get to here we go from Mr. Fabrizio Romano. So another one that we can cross off the list.
Yeah, I didn't want him anyway. It's as simple as that. I think he's a good player. I think he's a Liverpool player? No. I didn't want him. Yes, I think he's got potential to be a top class player. Yes, I think he's a very good footballer. But is he Liverpool standard right now? No. Is he a player that we could get a lot better in this transfer window? Absolutely. So yeah, happily go to Villareal. Enjoy La Liga, mate. It's better than sunny Bournemouth. But yeah, I didn't see him as a Liverpool player at all.
Can I add one thing, by the way? So I had a bit of a strop on my last stream around not releasing the name of a player. And I'm glad I didn't, because it fell through and it was absolutely not right. So if I had have given you a name, I would now be sitting here doing an apologetic stream. So, I know what people thought I was in a strop that day, and I was. So, fair play. I hold my hands up on that. But I'm glad I held off, because that particular one went to the dust. And it's because something else became available. And this is what I keep saying. Football moves quickly, and that's why I always hang off until I am 100% certain on saying anything. Now, on football moving quickly, and don't read anything to this, it's just another player that has been linked to us recently that I wanted to bring up a little bit, and that is the young man from Barcelona, Moriba. I think he is a compatriot of Naby Keita, if my memory is correct. But one thing I will say is, when you start to link these things up, and sometimes that can be through friendship, sometimes that can be through, previous clubs or previous managers, he has the same agency as Roberto Firmino. And we do know that Bobby Firmino is quite good at having a word in players' ears if needs be. So we obviously have a decent working relationship with the agency that he's signed to. And he is wanting to leave. He's wanting to leave Barcelona, and it looks like there are about 10 to 12 clubs interested in signing him, of which Liverpool are one. Now, some people think they'd rather a Ryan Gravenberch as an example. But, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Now is the time for English clubs to be jumping all over the throats of Barcelona and Real Madrid. And this kid, if you can get him for a reasonable price, I think would be fine business.
Yeah, Moriba Karuma is his full name, and Ariba. I'd love to have him. This football club, I think he's a good young talent. 18 years old. You're quite right. A compatriot of Naby Keita, a Guinean international. He's being linked with absolutely every man and his dog at the minute, because, as you say, he wants to leave Barcelona. Every club's going to be interested because he's a fine young talent. But he's a player that, I say this very often, he'll do really well under Jurgen. He scored a goal and had 2 assists in his first season with Barcelona last year, I believe. Prior to that, he'd been playing with Barcelona B. And yeah, I think he'd be a good call for us. I really do.
Yeah, it's your worst nightmare here, Jack. It's your end of transfer window. Worst nightmare. Jensk said you should look at Sander Berge as a backup. Jack, do you want to talk through your nightmare scenario, or will I?
Oh, Christ. Yeah, Sander Berge, he's an Arsenal signing. He absolutely stinks of Arsenal. Don't get me wrong, I think when he was at Genk, he looked like a decent young player. Obviously, had Champions League experience. There were big clubs sniffing around. There was a reason he ended up at Sheffield United. There's a reason he's now playing in the Championship. He's had an injury problem last season, of course. He's not Liverpool level, come on. And someone has just literally took the words out of my mouth in the comments. Geordie T. He's another Gruitch, and we'd sign him. He'd hardly ever play. He'd be sent off packing, and we'd probably lose money on him. It's as simple as that.
Geordie's on fire. The rest of the chat is terrified. Geordie's on fire. You're doing well tonight, mate. Fair play.
Where'd you come up with them, Craig? Where do you? But yeah, I believe Sheffield United losing 4-0. I've got one of my best mates downstairs. He's a Baggies fan. I just heard him shout.
Ben Davies standing at the bus stop right now looking for a return ticket.
Yeah, they're screwed, Sheffield United. They really are. They can't score in a brothel. They've just lost Ramsdale to us. By the way, 30 million for Ramsdale when Johnson was available for 15 is an absolute joke.
Don't get me started on Ramsdale, mate. I'll get myself in trouble here.
But yeah, screw Sheffield United. Screw Sander Berge. Can't deal with either of them. And yeah, Arsenal signing to a T for me. No way we should be looking at him.
There's a few more names I want to chat about, and guys in the chat have mentioned it, so I'll bring them up as they appear in the chat. So let's start with this one. Thoughts on Ismaïla Sarr rumours, asks Luke Higgins, and thank you for the question, Luke. For me, Jack, look, we knocked on the door before we signed the Ogo Jota. Jack's given it a double chew. We knocked on the door before we signed Diogo Jota. The Pozzi family told us that they wanted, I think, 50 million, and they wanted the majority of it up front. And that was when he was a championship player. Now, I've seen some people say we're preparing a 40 million bid. I've seen people say that the Pozzi family at Watford value him upwards of 60 million, and they are just back up into the Premier League. So, and by the way, he'd be off for the AFCON as well. But to, counter that, be fair and say the AFCON, 3 games. It's not the end of the world one way or the other. Like, I wouldn't rule out signing somebody for 4 or 5 years over 3 games. But I just don't know. I think it would take a lot of a change of heart and direction from the Pozzi family about how they'd structure the deal for Liverpool to actually be able to push ahead on a player that we have clearly shown interest in. There's no denying that.
Screw the Pozzi family. We're Liverpool Football Club. Do you know what I mean? We'll get what we want. And Ismaïla Sarr, we'll get him at the end of the season when they go back down again. It's Watford. They're a yo-yo. We'll get him, mate. Ismaïla Sarr is one I'm confident of. We missed out on him when they first went down. He's a top quality player. The only problem was when they last went down, he'd only had a couple of games where he'd actually shown his ability. He didn't have the full season. Watford didn't play him as much as you'd have liked to see. He had a full season in the Championship last year where he shone. He's come up to the Premier League. He was man of the match against Villa. I think he'll be class for them this season, but I think he won't be enough to keep them up. And we'll sign him then. He's one I'm confident of us getting.
Give me a price. Give me a value.
When they go down, I think we'll get him for 40 mil. 40 mil.
I'll take your 40 million. I'll add another 10 to it, and I'll raise you a Harvey Barnes. Because I told people a year ago, more than a year ago, that Liverpool have plans for Harvey Barnes. People told me I was mad. It's been put out there publicly, stated in, I think, The Athletic and many other publications. Klopp has a bit of a thing for Harvey Barnes, and I absolutely understand why. Because he is everything that Jurgen Klopp would want in a forward. He's got the pressing ability. He has got the ability to drift in. He's got the ability to play across the line. I love Harvey Barnes. I don't think we will sign him this summer. I'm not very confident of that. But if you're asking me would I prefer Sarr or Barnes, I'm taking Barnes every day of the week. Not just because we get to have the name Barnes on the back of his Liverpool shirt again, which does no harm.
Yeah, you said I'd another 10 million, but it's going to be a lot more than that, Craig. Obviously, I shared the information that I shared with you last week with these guys in the stream on Monday night. On Harvey Barnes, which was, initially I'd heard that Liverpool were planning a bid for him. It didn't get to that point. Leicester are planning a 4-year contract for this lad, which I believe he's going to sign. But there is strong interest, and that's what I've heard from numerous different people. I think it could have been a possibility had he not agreed to sign this deal at Leicester. And now I can't see it happening. Look, they got 80 million for a Maguire. They get big transfers, Leicester, and they'd be demanding a lot for Harvey Barnes. The fact he's English as well, homegrown talent, there's no chance of this one happening now, unfortunately, despite our interest in him. And I'm disappointed because I think he would have been a great signing. But that's why I think Ismaïla Sarr and maybe Neto as well is more likely, because this English tax nowadays is ridiculous. It really is. And you say add 10 million, but it's going to be at probably double what we pay for Ismaïla Sarr.
What I would say is Leicester, they're doing a cracking job. They're doing a great job of not just their acquisitions of the players that they're bringing in, which, look, none of us can complain about, but to be able to be, I don't know, has Thielman signed that new contract yet that's been put in front of him? I'm not sure on that one. But
he hasn't yet, but I've heard that he will. And
if you get Barnes to do that as well, and they've got a very good deal, Vestergaard, to me, I just think it's ridiculously cheap at 15 million quid. And you look at the recruitment that they have, I mean, you got to just take your hat off to Leicester. But if you're asking me who I'd prefer, 100% I'd prefer Harvey Barnes over Sarr. I just think Klopp would get more of what he wants from him than Sarr. But it was an interesting little debate to have, and I always do like them. What was this the other day? Someone said, Craig, I'm sorry for saying Rob was out for a month the other day. We had some lying bastards in the stream telling fibs got through. Look, just because he's back, and by the way, Kate is our chief moderator, or our vice captain moderator, so, no ill feelings ever, Kate. We've seen him running, Jack, Robbo, which is great news, but I mean, I don't think he's going to be playing against Burnley on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be playing against Burnley. I think, though, it's good news for that Chelsea game. He may actually be fit for that Chelsea game now, which I think is what Jurgen Klopp would have hoped for. Seeing Tsimikas against Norwich. He was a live wire, weren't he? A kid with ADHD, someone who's had too many E numbers. Good going forwards, but constantly out of position, a couple of mistakes. I'll be happy to play him against Burnley, but Chelsea would be the worry. And as long as Robbo's back for then, I'd be happy. I just want to bring this up as well, Craig, RSH14. I've heard that Southampton are apparently looking at Kabak.
I knew we'd regret not signing him on the cheap. I fucking said it at the time, and still bugs me to this day.
There's a couple that I've heard Southampton looking at. There's Kabak, obviously Phillips as well, and Tosin Adarabioyo. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. It seems as though the Liverpool journal's got him wrong. I think Fabrizio Romano says that Schalke rejected a £15 million bid for him or something along the lines of that. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But it seems stupid to me that no one wants Kabak, because we saw from his time at us last year, there's a good defender there really is, and he seems to be available on a bargain.
Yeah, he's $8.5 million, they reckon, at one point, even though we had an 18 million option to buy. Schalke were in such trouble, they just wanted his wages off the book. So I think whoever gets him, it's a calculated gamble. But at $8.5 million, I don't think it's too much of a calculated gamble. I think it's a fairly decent one. Right, where did you find that comment so I can pull it back off? Oh, there it is. There we go. I wanted to talk about two possible outgoings, Jack, which will lead us into talking about possible incomings. And look, Shaqiri, very likely to leave. I would go as far as to say will not be a Liverpool player by the time the window closes. I think if as close to me laying my name on the line for this one happening, I'm saying Shaqiri's leaving. But Divock seems to be a little bit of a different story. And we have to be careful when we talk about this, because there are two sides to every transfer. There is the club side, which includes the fans, I suppose, and there's the human side, which means the player and his family. And they have every right to want to be happy and accept the terms that are put to them. But what we don't want to happen is we're in a scenario where the clock is a-ticking and Origi is in a fairly good position because he's on a semi-decent wage at Liverpool. I think after signing this new deal, if my memory's right, he's on about 60 grand base wage a week, something like that. And he can sit there and go, maybe he doesn't want to sit on the bench, but he can bluff and say, I want to sit on the bench. And I don't want it to be in a position where we have to move him on loan and still pay a proportion of his wages and not be able to go and buy another player, because loaning him out and saving some of his wages is great, but you still you've received no money there. So that's what worries me. I think Shaqiri has gone out and asked for the move, and I think the club are trying to facilitate that for everybody involved. But with Origi, I don't know if you've heard anything different, but to me, he seems to be digging his heels in a little bit, which is, of course, his right to do.
I think no one wants to pay Origi, pay for Origi what we want. I think we'd have to be willing to, lower our price for Origi. I think Origi doesn't necessarily want to leave as well, which is fair play for him. Why would he? I think also the problem is we don't have a player like Origi in the squad. And, letting him go for that reason would be interesting. But with that being said, I personally just have a feeling that he's going to be one of them players that once we've signed a forward player when Shaqiri goes, which I do believe will happen, I think Origi will then be available on loan at the end of the window. And I just have a feeling that he'll end up on loan at another Premier League club.
I'm gonna have a punt at Wolves, even though I do have Fabio Silva as a young option and Jimenez coming back.
West Ham, one of that kind of club. I think that's where he'll end up. And I think
I spoke to Corey as well from the West Ham way. I spoke to Corey about this, and they had eyes at Tammy Abraham, but he's obviously gone to Roma. So the options for the ability for West Ham to go out and get a striker, perhaps they're waning a bit. So maybe West Ham will relook at Divock.
Yeah, and I think it's worth a punt for a club like that on a loan deal, and it's something for Liverpool where we go, look, we're not going to get what we want for Origi right now. Let's send him out on a loan. Let's try and increase that interest. It'll do well. We listen. Origi gets slated, and I feel like he deserves some of it. But there's a good player there. There is a good footballer there, and if he gets regular game time, I do believe he's a 10+ goals player in the Premier League. I really do at certain clubs. And yes, he can be frustrating with his laziness, but in front of goal, he can be dangerous. And, you know, he's a player that scored in the Champions League final. He scored so many important goals for this football club. And yeah, I don't think he's good enough for Liverpool, but I think he's good enough for a Premier League side. And I think it's just about the valuation of Divock Origi right now, and fair play for him for wanting to stay. But he's not a player that can play week in, week out for Liverpool. So he's going to have to move on at some point. And I do think at first it may have to be a loan deal. So yeah, that's where I think Origi. That's what I think will happen to Origi this window.
Now let's get on to Doku, Jeremy Doku, because it has been reported widely and not for the first time that Jeremy Doku is in love with Liverpool, or loves the idea of Liverpool. But the negative point to this is that Ron are in no rush. He's got, I think, at least 3 years remaining on his contract there. And it looks like if Liverpool want to get him in over the line in this window, €50 million is the number that gets it done, Jack. Is he a €50 million player as things stand, which is what, about £43-44 million? It's so tough, this call, mate, because I really, really, really do rate this guy. But, you know, next summer FC could do some good business as well if we had to hold out. And interestingly, I'm going to double down here, because what I've seen and heard in the media, if you look at Gary Neville talking, if you look at Paul Pogba talking, not Paul Pogba, Graham Souness. In my head, I'm thinking, remember to talk about Pogba and Souness for a second, because I actually do have, so that's why that came out. But yeah, so Souness was talking about it, Carragher was talking, and they seem to be talking about a midfielder and not an attacking player. Midfielder seems to be the word coming out from ex-pros, but from the journos, white player, attacking forward has been the position that's been coming out. So one, what's your take on the price for Doku? And two, if we are to bring in one, do you think that it is the midfielder, or do you think that it will be an attacking player?
I think it'll be the forward because of the African Cup of Nations. It's as simple as that. I think, you know, for the journalists, they do their research. They see that Gini's gone and they think we need to bring in a midfielder. But I think looking at what happened last window, I think we bought Thiago in. There's Curtis Jones that's come through as well. There's Harvey Elliott that Klopp's paid in pre-season in midfield too. I wouldn't be surprised if Klopp goes till January with these current midfield options, and if we have any problems, then he'll go ahead and sign a midfielder in January. But yeah, I can see a forward as the more likely possibility for this window. I think we'll sign one player, and I think it'll be an attacking player.
I don't know if this is actually my wife or not, but she basically asking on behalf of the young female and for gender fans is you know, any chance of a ride from Jack for the young ones out there that they're looking for a piece of Mr. Gill. I genuinely don't know if that's my wife or not, because we're in StreamYard and I can't tell.
In the words of Mourinho, I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah, no, trust me, mate. Me speaking has got me into a lot of trouble over the years, a lot of it. And look, so remind me to get back to the Pogba Graham Souness thing before we finish up. But something just came into the chat there. We seem to have dodged a little bit of a bullet with the Ronaldo situation by holding on and on and on. I mean, I've seen anything from 6 weeks to 3 months for the Ronaldo Sanchez injury. So I think it's fair to say that won't be happening in this window.
Yeah, it won't be happening this window. I just realised I didn't mention Doku in my last comment. I spoke in the last couple of days about that, Craig. For me, I think Doku is a realistic transfer. I think 50 million euros, that is a good deal for us. I think he could be a real top-class player under Jurgen Klopp. And yeah, as far as Renato Sanchez is concerned, I think there's a real player there. Yes, he's had this injury problem, but potentially it's something that we'll revisit in January, as I was saying before. I don't think we dodged a bullet, because I think he's a very, very, very good player. You only have to see from his performances in the Euros.
One second, mate. 1 second. Sabrina! Was that you? Yeah, it was her. Sorry, I just want to see it was me, and I had to shout to see if it was. So yeah, my wife wants to know basically what's the story, Jack.
Well, clearly, Craig, that ball deodorant isn't working for you if she's coming after me.
At least they'll know that you'll be well taken care of down there, yeah. All shaven, groomed, sorted out.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll basically, it sounds like we'll be getting to a point where I'm going to be asking Jack how many sugars in his tea at any moment here.
Yeah, sorry, Sabrina. I'm not taking you away from Craig. But yeah, here we go.
I have more chance of riding them before you do. Nah. Oh, yes, this is why we'll never be professional at Anfield Agenda. It's just not possible.
I don't like these lives. You can't edit shit like this out.
Who wants to edit it out? This is the beauty of it, mate. This is why people come to us for something a little bit different. You can go from football talk straight into absolute madness out of nowhere, and I don't even know where it's going, mate, half the time. Let's before we finish up, go back round to the Souness Pogba thing, because it's getting a lot of attention on social media over the last few days. And you know what? Look, there's loads of ways of looking at this. What I will say to younger viewers is, don't underestimate Souness's playing ability and what he did and what he won and, stuff like that. But I do have to admit, he really has gone in over the top on Pogba. And I think I can't deny there's an agenda there, Jack. I mean, I'll be the first one to want to banter United fans, but I can understand where they're coming from on this one.
Yeah, it seemed a bit ridiculous before, but with his comments from the weekend, there's definitely an agenda there, isn't there? And I don't understand it. I don't know whether as soon as I've seen it, thought he's ridiculous and now he's playing on it a bit or what. But yeah, that 100 million comment was just ridiculous. And look, there's an absolute player there in Graham Souness. You have to know that. And the United fans that say, "Wait, who is Souness?" That's childish, because he was a top player in his day. But yeah, there's definitely an agenda there. There really is.
A top player, like 3 European Cups. I've seen a list of his achievements. So people come in and say, well, 1 World Cup trumps all of that. But I suppose we all become hypocrites in these scenarios, because when it suits us, we'll say you can't measure player success by trophies, and when it doesn't, you won't. Mate, if I was on Love Island, trust me, I wouldn't last very long at all. I'm not suited to that. I tell you what, when I would have played a blinder in Big Brother. Oh, the psychological warfare. I would have played a blinder in that Big Brother house. I wish that was still going so I could go in, because I would be stirring shit left, right, and centre and just pissing myself laughing, walking around as I just drop off little bombs of aggro here, there, and everywhere, and just go and snigger in another room somewhere as I don't mind. But yeah, no, I've never seen a minute of Love Island. Never a minute.
I've always wanted to be on a show like Big Brother. I think it'd be a good crack. But yeah, I had some comments the other day about you on Love Island, Craig, and I couldn't resist a cheeky little conversation about you being in the Love Island villa and bringing back Mbappe with you, because for some reason that's what the comments came up with. But yeah, that's apparently what you've been up to the last couple of days.
Here, Killian, look, I've just started this Anfield Agenda NFT. It's going to be worth hundreds of millions, Killian, and you can get in on it right now if you leave the Love Island villa and come with me back to Liverpool to sign the contract. Right, Jack, anything else that we want to go through? Any other bits and pieces? Oh, Saul, we haven't spoken about him in a while, and probably because there's not really much to talk about. I don't know if it's his wage demands or a lack of actual interest in him, but as things stand, United seem to be looking elsewhere. Liverpool, from what I've heard, still haven't really approached the player. Anything new from your side?
Nothing new. Just what we've said before in terms of, potentially we're in talks, potentially asked for too much money. Sorry, but who knows? He's a good player. He's a player that I think would improve this squad. But yeah, it's gone quiet, hasn't it?
This one here, I won't lie to you, I sort of avoided. I have information on our interest in this guy, but I've sort of just ignored it because I don't like the pronunciation of his name. It's Shumani, is that? Shumani? Edouard, I don't see ever coming to Liverpool because I don't think he has the bottle for it, if I'm being honest with you. From what I've read and stuff about previous attempts of Leicester and Liverpool to sign him. This guy from Monaco, though, there has been links to him over the last week or so. And look, I've been honest and said, I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know anything about him whatsoever, but I can't lie and say that there hasn't been multiple reports about our interest in him. Jack, you're usually better on the younger players or the players coming through. Anything from you on Mr. Chouamani?
Chouamani's the one from Monaco, isn't he, that I said the other day when he was brought up, I hadn't heard anything, and that's a surprise when it comes to young players across Europe, because I genuinely try and keep up to date with them. I'd not heard much about Tchouameni, but after that stream, I did some research. He looks like a decent sort of player. He looks like a Liverpool sort of player. I'd be intrigued to see if there is actually any real interest. It seems to be, because we seem to be getting linked on a consistent basis. As for Celtic players and looking at Odsonne Edouard, Kyogo, I don't know if anyone is up to date with Celtic, but that recent signing that they've signed from Vissel Kobe, I believe he was born in 95, so I think he's 25, 26. He looks like a real talent in Kyogo, and I think it's not long before he comes to a top club in Europe, because he looks like a real player.
Do you know how old that makes me feel here? When he was born in 95, makes him about 26, and I'm thinking, God, I'm getting old. Jeez, I'm getting old. So, Jordi T said, although of Marigi is a bit of fight for his position, and he seems to be happy to be second best, but I love the kid quality player on his day. It's an interesting one, because look, we've seen the magic. We've seen Origi in his pomp. We've seen what he can deliver, but we can't and haven't seen it consistently. And I don't think he'll get the opportunity to do it consistently because of what's ahead of him in the pecking order. So I think he's a confidence player, Origi, that if he goes somewhere, could become a 15-goal-a-season man for somebody. But I just don't think he'll ever get the time to get the rhythm at Liverpool, Jack, with what's ahead of him. And even with the AFCON, I mean, even then, we're still talking 3 games max. And even if he does produce it, are we going to drop Salah and Mane when they come back? No, let's be honest.
I think Origi's best days at this football club have gone, and unfortunately, I think he's reached his limit. I think, as people have pointed out, he's a cult hero at this football club. He scored in the Champions League final. He's given us great moments like Barcelona at home, obviously that Everton game. But yeah, I don't think he's good enough. And yeah, it's a real shame. But I think, I think his future's elsewhere, to be honest with you.
Interesting. Have you been keeping an eye on the whole European Super League court battle type malarkey? It seems to be winding up another few levels. Because Real Madrid are digging their heels in. La Liga are basically talking about again possibly kicking them out. So look, we'll wait and see how it happens. But I think we've pretty much covered everything, ladies and gentlemen. And I will be straight away jumping in and recording my One Football news video for the week. So more transfer gossip coming your way. That video will be out tomorrow. Myself, Jack, and Mr. Steve Bland will be coming back together tomorrow night for no longer the podcast. No, it's now called Cop the Week. We've decided to rename it. So again, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody for the kindness and welcoming me back in. A massive thank you to Jack for both his excellent work over the last few days and for having a bit of fun with me tonight again. Massive thank you to my wife for letting me know she's into younger men. And of course, massive thank you to you guys for everything. So, and yeah, again, if you want your balls shaven, you won't do any better than getting over to manscaped.com, WFM20, and probably Sabrina will thank you later by the sounds of it at this point. I don't know where else to go with it, Jack. I'm losing it here.
It's great to have you back, Craig, and it's good to be back doing these as a duo, and I'm looking forward to being joined by Steve tomorrow night as well. So yeah, good stream, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, somebody needs to keep us two in check, all right, and Steve's usually quite good at that one. And he might have a little something from Mr. Ornstein for us as well, you never know. Very good mates with the actual journalists.
Ornstein's behind me at the minute, isn't he, with his Harvey Barnes news? He was a couple of days behind me. So, yeah, he's slacking there, mate.
Yeah, you don't think top-tier journalists are like, mate. They have to make sure there's facts involved and everything like that. But look, ladies and gentlemen, it's been lots of fun. Hit the subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.